Climate things countries can do. Refrain from extracting new, alternative fossil fuel resources. Reallocate fossil fuel subsidies to support distributed renewable electricity generation. Shift towards widespread use of public transport in large metropolitan areas. Redirect subsidies granted to companies for the extraction of alternative fossil fuels to building sector measures. Commit to the full decarbonization of the energy supply by 2050. Develop a national strategy for ambitious electric vehicle (EV) uptake aimed at complementing biofuels and at 100% CO2-free new vehicles. Promote the urban agenda by increasing the use of public transport and other low-carbon alternatives. Ban all new coal-fired power plant. Continue governmental support for renewables, taking into account cost reductions, and accelerate development towards a 100% carbon-free electricity system. Further support the shift towards public modes of transport. Support the uptake of electric mobility, aiming for 100% CO2-free new vehicles. Promote near-zero emission building development and integrate it into government planning. Adopt regulations to refrain from investment in fossil fuel infrastructure, including new natural gas pipelines. Define a clear endpoint for the emissions trading system (ETS) in the form of a cap that must lead to zero emissions. Adjust policies to enable 100% carbon-free electricity supply by between 2040 and 2050. Step up efforts to phase out coal-fired plants. Define a strategy for zero-emission industrial processes. Reform the EU ETS to more effectively reduce emissions in industrial applications. Ban the sale of internal combustion engine cars and buses and/or set targets to move towards 100% of new car, trucks and bus sales being zero-carbon vehicles in the coming decades. Shift towards increased use of public transport in line with the most ambitious member states. Increase the renovation rate for intensive retrofits of existing buildings. Plan the transition from coal-fired power plants. Develop an economy-wide green industrialization strategy towards zero-emission technologies. Expand mass public transit systems. Develop domestic electric vehicle targets working towards 100% new sales of zero-emission cars. Develop a strategic energy plan that includes halting the construction of new freely emitting coal-fired power plants, as well as a phase-out schedule of existing plants and a 100% carbon-free electricity supply. Increase the current level of carbon pricing with high priority given to the energy and building sector. Develop a plan to phase out the use of fossil fuels through promoting passenger cars that use electricity from renewable energy. Implement a roadmap as part of efforts towards net zero energy buildings and net zero energy houses. Introduce regulations on power plants, clean energy standards and carbon pricing to achieve an electricity supply that is 100% carbon-free. Implement carbon pricing on industrial emissions. Strengthen vehicle and fuel economy standards to be in line with zero emissions for new cars in 2030. Implement clean building standards so that all new buildings are 100% electrified by 2030. Love Shift. Working together, we can make a difference.